Today I'd like to talk to you about the area of Vermont. Homes in Vermont were mostly built between 1950 and the 1970s, so quite a few houses in this area are already getting on in years. However, because Vermont has a long history, great schools, a quiet environment, and plenty of parks and green spaces, it basically meets a family's needs at different stages of life. That's why the rate of owner-occupied housing in Vermont is quite high, at around 81%. Residents stay for an average of 16 years, and nearly 80% of homes are houses, making it a very typical family-oriented suburb. Vermont's biggest draw card is definitely the education. Most of Vermont falls within the Vermont Secondary College Zone. There are 4 main primary school zones, with most homes in the Vermont Primary and Rangeview Primary zones. Both schools have scores near 98 or 99 and have a great local reputation. Vermont Primary is worth highlighting. Founded in 1869, it has nearly 160 years of history, being one of Victoria's earliest state schools with a deep heritage. Another big plus for Vermont is the abundance of parks and open spaces. There are 17 parks in total, including Bellbird Dell, a north-south green corridor perfect for walking, exercise, or dog walking, and it's a landmark of Vermont. The biggest recent change is the former Hillsville Reserve. The Victorian government originally set this aside for a freeway, but it's now been transformed into Ngarak Nakarang Wilma Park, a beautiful parkland corridor. The entire park covers over 35 hectares and is about 3.5 kilometers long, making it a very impressive open space, with nearly half of it located within the Vermont area, while the rest extends into Vermont South and Forest Hill. Some of the park's facilities have already been completed and are now open for use. As the remaining work is finished, this project will further enhance the livability of Vermont and the surrounding areas. Regarding shopping, Vermont itself only has one small commercial strip, Vermont Village, but it's very convenient to get to several nearby shopping centres, including Brentford Square, the Mitcham Shops, Eastland and Costco in Ringwood, and Forest Hill Chase, which has undergone a major upgrade in the last couple of years. So while there aren't many large shopping facilities within Vermont itself, the surrounding amenities are generally very comprehensive. A notable downside of Vermont is the lack of trains or trams in the area. Public transport is somewhat limited, so there's a high reliance on cars for daily life. Looking at it from another angle, this also reduces through traffic and noise, making the whole area much quieter to live in. When we look at factors like local school zones, the diverse terrain, and shopping accessibility, we can effectively divide the state of Vermont into 5 distinct areas. For a much more detailed and comprehensive analysis, Area 1 is truly the heart of Vermont, with Vermont Primary, Vermont Secondary, and the lovely Bellbird Park nearby. It offers excellent schools and beautiful nature, making it a perfect place for families to call home. This area also features large blocks of land spanning thousands of square meters, mostly around Tarara Road and Norlendi Road. This is where many high-value sales happen, and it also has one of the highest owner occupancy rates in the suburb. The most scenic section of the new Ngarak Nakorang Willam Park is also located right near this particular area. Note that many streets in Area 1 are quite steep, though this does mean you get much better views and a sense of elevation. Area 2's schools are on par with Area 1, as it's entirely within the Vermont Secondary Zone. For primary schools, it's mostly Vermont Primary and Rangeview Primary, with St. James Primary School nearby. You'll also find many large blocks here, mainly around Glen Burnie Road, Penline Avenue, and Holyrood Drive. Overall, the northern part of Area 2 offers better access to shopping and schools compared to the southern part. However, in the south, Abbey Walk and Campbell's Reserve provide some really lovely environments for leisure and walking. The area south of Penline Avenue was mostly developed after 1980, making it a relatively newer part of Vermont. The roads are wider and the blocks are larger, giving the neighbourhood a fresher feel. Some lots even have great views, as it was a high-quality residential development area at the time. Area 3 is within the Vermont Secondary Zone. For primary schools, some homes are zoned for Vermont Primary, while others fall under Parkmore Primary, so the school zones can vary depending on the exact location. Additionally, there used to be a school called St. Timothy's Primary here, but the site has since become the Year 9 campus for Emmaus College. In terms of other living conditions, Area 3 is generally quite flat and close to Brentford Square. Some streets are even within walking distance. To the south, there's a large park and a council-run community garden where residents can apply for a plot to grow their own vegetables. Overall, the terrain, shopping, parks and community environment in Area 3 are quite friendly. For families with elderly members or children, it's an area with a high level of convenience. Area 4 has relatively more negative factors overall. Some blocks here have steep slopes, and it's also close to the Eastlink freeway and high voltage power lines, which affects the living experience and property prices. However, Area 4 is quite close to the Eastland Shopping Centre, so the shopping convenience is quite high. On the south side of the area, there's also the Dandenong Creek Trail, which is very convenient for walking, cycling, hiking, and daily exercise. A large part of Area 5 is industrial land. Combined with the impact of two main roads, the number of truly quiet and livable blocks is relatively limited. Especially on the east side of Rooks Road, the owner occupancy rate is only 68%, making it an area with a relatively low owner occupancy rate in Vermont. However, there is a special residential project in this area, which is Vermont Village. Vermont Village was built around 1975, covering an area of about 32,000 square metres, with a total of 92 residences. At the time, this was a high-end cluster-style residential community. But after decades of use, this community has started to look quite old. Due to shared land, cluster titles, and multiple owners, the difficulty of demolition and reconstruction in the future will be relatively high. Overall, Vermont is a mature, family-oriented suburb with outstanding educational resources, a high owner occupancy rate, strong resident stability, and a good natural environment. Its shortcomings are mainly the older age of the housing, relatively limited public transport, and the impact of slopes, power lines, freeways, or industrial land in some areas. That's our regional analysis of Vermont from JL Property. If you need professional assistance when buying a home in Vermont or other areas of Melbourne, please feel free to contact us.